Hello, everybody! I'm very excited, so I'm waving with both hands today. Okay, this introduction has to be really short because this chapter is quite long, and I don't want you to have to sit here for 40 whole minutes to hear the thing. So, yes, I know I've been gone for 1,000 years. My computer and my health are both stupid. But I have written just a whole bunch of Littleland while I haven't been able to film anything. Hopefully, it won't be a drought for as long as this drought was, for which I do very sincerely apologize. With that all out the way, let's get into the story. Okay, you know the drill by now. If for some reason you don't know the drill, that's okay, I'll go over it quickly. Get a storytime companion. Get a nice blankie if it's cold where you are, or lay down somewhere nice and cool if it's hot. Close your eyes, snuggle down, and let's have a story. Okay? Okay. This is Littleland, Part 2, Chapter 20? I can't count it on my fingers anymore, the chapters have gone too high. Aiden emerged from the room. A dark expression of displeasure creased his freckled face, just as his new reins creased his bodysuit. He entered the living room at the end of his tether, and Aiden could see Piper's eyes widen when she saw him. Aiden was released from his leash and placed inside the pen. The others busied themselves with their pursuits, throwing him looks of sympathy as if unsure what to say to him. Aiden couldn't bear the awkward silence. And so, looking down at the harness that was buckled across his chest, Aiden decided to unburden them. He let out a loud, extended groan, sinking down to lay upon the rug, his face buried in the pile. This prompted a soft giggle from Piper, who reached over to offer Aiden a consolatory pat on the arm. "Oh, Dennis, I'm so sorry," she said. Aiden, still groaning, extended a single thumb in recognition. But hey, look on the bright side." Aiden lifted his head, brown eyes huge with hope. "Yeah? Well, now we match." Aiden James Phillips lowered his head. Somewhere between the afternoon spent baking biscuits with Granny Vera and the walk back to the big cabin at twilight, Aiden felt his spirits begin to lift. The lightest flutter of snow fell from the branches above and glowed like fireflies in the light of the lanterns that flanked the path. His companions looked enchanted, cheeks appling from the cold, frozen breath escaping as they discussed the events of the afternoon. He burrowed closer into Miss Emily's arms, seeking both warmth and comfort, and she smiled fondly. There, baby boy. It's gonna be okay." "I know," said Aiden, softly. "I just wish it was okay already." "Oh, sweet pea, I know," she said, and laid her cheek against her charger's head. "Soon, okay? Would it help to know what the plan is for the evening?" Aiden nodded, exhaling. "I think it would." "Okay, we're going to get home. Then we'll have a change if we need one." At this, Miss Emily paused to give Aiden's backside an experimental pat. She continued, "Okay, we'll definitely have a change." Aiden groaned, not wishing to concede that his cloth diaper did fill several bottles of juice heavier. "Then some dinner, and then a bath. We can even have bubbles if you like." She leaned in to whisper conspiratorially, "I think there might even be some bath toys in there somewhere." Aiden couldn't help but smile up at his caregiver. "Hooray," he said. "And then," Miss Emily said, nodding at Ethan, who held the gate open as they passed through, "we'll deal with our business, okay?" Aiden felt that business was a needlessly euphemistic way to word what was set to befall him that evening. It irked him some, but he did his best not to register that fact on his face. Miss Emily was only trying to be nice. Nice it would be not spanking you at all, Aiden thought. Unfortunately, that was beyond the realm of possibility. Knowing this, the evening passed in a solemn blur. Following dinner, he was bathed, making no protest as he was stripped and lifted into the tub in full view of the others. This time, though, there was no giggling on Aiden's part. As much as he wasn't looking forward to Miss Emily's discipline, The true fear lay in 2 days' time, when he would receive his first spanking from Dr. Gilbert. The others had all survived this particular trial by fire, but Aiden wasn't sure that he could. What if it hurt too much? Surely the doctor would notice if he wasn't handling the pain. Sooner than was comfortable, it was time to attend to business, and Aiden James Phillips found himself in the cabin's discipline room, standing before his caregiver. Miss Emily had a determined look in her eye, Aiden noticed. It was as if she'd steeled herself for a meaningful conversation about running away. Euphemisms. Even Aiden was using them. "Come here, baby," Miss Emily murmured, opening her arms to the shaking boy. He went to her immediately, nestling into her oversized lap. This was nice, Aiden thought. A cuddle was far nicer than the alternative. "Okay, honey," she said, taking a steadying breath. "I know I've spanked you before, but today's is going to be a little firmer, I'm sorry to report." Aiden understood, truly. Clearly the gently humiliating and virtually painless spankings hadn't done enough to discourage Aiden from misbehaving. "But I want you to know that you are still a very good little boy, Aiden James Phillips." Miss Emily rested her chin on her diminutive charger's flaming orange head. "You're just a good little boy with some lessons to learn." "Yes, Miss Emily. Is there anything you want to say before we get started?" "Yeah," he sighed. "I'm sorry I ran away." "Thank you, sweetheart," said Miss Emily, tightening her embrace for a moment. "Ready?" Aiden took a moment to compose himself. "Ready." And all too soon, the little boy had his diaper removed and was draped over his caregiver's knee. Miss Emily rested a securing arm across his back, seemingly to highlight his place across her lap. Then Aiden felt her warm, large hands settle on his newly bared bottom, and he couldn't help but give a shiver. Whether the shiver was one of delight or fear, or some combination of the two, Aiden James Phillips couldn't tell you. He was too busy ducking for cover. The little boy folded his arms atop his head and nuzzled his face into his elbow when she began to speak. "Okay, baby boy," said Miss Emily, with a sigh and a few gentle pats to his rear. "What's brought us here today?" "I ran off into the woods and got lost and made everyone worry," said Aiden, dolefully. "Yes, you did," Miss Emily agreed. "And you were told not once, but twice, that you were to stay with the group." "Very good, little one. And did you do that?" she asked, her voice low and earnest. Aiden knew that his caregiver wasn't pleased with today's shenanigans, but she didn't sound mad. Still, his heart pounded in his chest. The anticipation of a spanking when you're already bare-bottomed and secured over a big person's knee is, simply put, frightful. "Hello. I'm busy." Pepper's come to visit. You probably can't see it. Oh, you can see her tail. "Okay, big bird. Off." Good girl. The anticipation of a spanking when you're already bare-bottomed and secured over a big person's knee is, simply put, frightful. While it helped to focus on Miss Emily's tone, Aiden couldn't help but flinch every time he sensed a change in her posture. "No, Miss Emily," he whispered. "No, little one, you didn't," she agreed. "The forest isn't for babies to be playing in alone." "No, it's not," said Aiden. "Why do you think you did it, honey? If you knew you weren't meant to go in there without a grown-up?" she asked, gently. "I needed to find out what the flash of colour was," said Aiden, cringing in anticipation of Miss Emily's first swat. "I know it was against the rules. Very much against the rules, little one. Very naughty, even," said Miss Emily, with another sigh. "I'm going to get started now, little one. Do you remember what to do if you need a break?" Aiden demonstrated his understanding with 3 successive pats to Miss Emily's leg. "Good boy. Okay. Let's begin." It wasn't horrible at first, simply squirm-inducing from the position, But the longer Aiden stayed prostrate under her hand, the deeper the sting in his bottom grew. Aiden was left in uncomfortable silence for what felt like eons. He longed to call out, to talk to Miss Emily, to know that she wasn't angry with him, or worse, disappointed. Instead, he stayed quiet and grit his teeth. "You're doing so well, baby boy," she finally spoke, causing Aiden's heart to leap and head to turn towards her. "We're going to have some serious thinking time now, okay? I want you to do your best to think about why what you did was so naughty." "I already know why," Aiden replied in a quivery voice. "Good job, honey," she said, her long fingers cracking solidly across the undercurve of Aiden's blushing backside. "And I just want you to think about it for a while." "Yes, ma'am," Aiden relented, squeezing his eyes closed. "No chatting now, sweetheart. Nice and quiet for me." Aiden barely contained a squeak as the first stroke of quiet time fell. Quiet time was the worst part of the spanking, especially a serious one as this was shaping up to be. At least his previous spankings hadn't hurt all that much. He could drift off during quiet time without anything forcing his attention back to the situation at hand. That being the fire that had engulfed his nethers and the large and powerful hand that had started it. And when his attention was wrestled back onto the correct topic, all Aiden felt was compounded. He felt guilty and sad and a little bit lost. He didn't want to think about this, but he also didn't want to disappoint Miss Emily. Aiden squeezed his toes together and tried his best to do as he was instructed. It was naughty to run away into the forest. That was obvious. It was against the rules to disobey, for one, and Aiden had disobeyed not 1 or 2, but 3 caretakers. The third's claim to his bottom being slightly spurious in Aiden's opinion, but over a knee is no position to protest from. It was also dangerous. What was the phrase that Frank had used? Concern boner? The big people were always talking about safety. Of course they weren't going to take kindly to an unscheduled jaunt through the forest. They were all probably worried half to death. Why couldn't I just ask someone to watch the forest with me so I could show them the flash? Why couldn't I have just waited? The cabin isn't there for shiggles. We would have gone there at some point, and I'd have learned about Mabel and not earned 2 big spankings and days and days and days upon rains. Aiden could feel the heat emanating from his punished cheeks as Miss Emily's hand continued to rise and fall with agonizing accuracy. Aiden kicked his feet a little, gulping back a sob. Why wouldn't she just talk to him? Quiet time was cruel and unusual punishment. It was unfair to banish him to his thoughts, make him think about what he did. Surely there was a law against it. He became aware of a wet patch on the couch cushion beneath his face and swept a forearm across his eyes. There, baby. You're okay. No more quiet time. It's time to talk. "Oh, thanks," Aiden said, doing his level best to disguise the sound of tears in his voice. "I know, honey. It's sore, huh?" "Uh-huh," Aiden whimpered. "Oh, my poor little boy with the sore tushy," she said, her tone sympathetic. "I'm sorry to have to say this, but this is what happens to little ones who run off without supervision." As if in demonstration, Miss Emily administered a particularly stinging volley of smacks across his hindquarters. The little boy dug his fingers into the couch fabric to keep from bucking up out of the path of her hand. "I know," Aiden said, morosely. "Okay, we're going to have a bit of a recap now. This morning, you saw a flash of colour through the trees. You were told twice that you were to stay with the group, but you didn't, did you?" Miss Emily, as she always did, was speaking very gently to her small charge, but nonetheless Aiden seemed distressed by her line of questioning. "No, I ran away." "Exactly right." Aiden felt a hand sweep through his copper locks. And we've already established that it's naughty to run off on your own, but I asked you to do some thinking for me during your quiet time, sweetheart. What did I ask you to think about? Why it's naughty? Did you come up with an answer? 'Cause it's not safe. I could have just asked someone to watch with me, but I ran away instead. And because you guys told me not to, I should have listened, because it's naughty not to listen. Very good answer, baby, said Miss Emily, continuing at the same leisurely but purposeful pace. It's a very big world out there, and you're just itty-bitty. Anything could have happened. I know. I think we're almost done here, honey. Next time you want to go investigate something, what do you think you could do instead? Ask a grown-up? Good job. Who's my clever boy? Said Miss Emily, as her spanking hand came to a stop and began to rub the excess sting from Aiden's thoroughly scorched bottom cheeks. Me, he said, coming over bashful. The warm maternal tone soothed the ache of his backside and slowed his tears. He wanted to crawl into her lap and take his nap right there. Right again, said Miss Emily. You did so well, my baby boy, she murmured. Would you like a cuddle?
Ooh, I would like a cuddle. That sounds nice. I hope you like this chapter of Littleland. I liked this chapter. I thought it was pretty good. I was a bit nervous to make Miss Emily do such a big, scary spanking, but I think she did an okay job. And I just want her to cuddle me. Also, I've been drawing little pictures of the characters, and I drew an Aiden that you probably seen before, and I drew a Miss Emily, and then I put them together into a thing, and she's giving him a cookie. I'm gonna try to do pictures of all the characters, and also upload Littleland more regularly. Thank you all for bearing with me. I love you all so very, very much, and I hope you have a day that inspires like a scrapbook. One of those days where you take so many nice pictures of things and you think, I'm going to put these all in a scrapbook, but then you never get into scrapbooking. That's what happens to me. I'm not very good at following through on crafts. Anyhow, okay. Bye, everybody. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.